think the romance in this book is going to be not enemies to lovers, then definitely like forced proximity. We do not like each other. We have to partner up on this one thing that we don't want to be working with each other, but we have to be. We're back. We are back. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new... What's the lyric? This is a writing vlog. And for the first time in a long time, we're starting a new book. So I've just finished work for the day. And over the weekend, last weekend, I got through so much progress in my notes for my new book. Here's the mood board for it. It does have a working title, but it's like a dumb working title. So I'm going to try to come up with a different working title and then I'll share that. The reason that I was not vlogging like the really early parts of writing this book, early outlining, well, it's not even outlining yet because I'm not even at the outline stage, but the early brainstorming was really a mess. I think, okay, this book is gonna be hard to write. Let me just say that. It's gonna be a challenge. I've talked before about how a very masochistic writer, and if there isn't a fear in me, then I lose motivation. The fact that this project is like genuinely something that I feel I've never done before. This is how I felt about Local Heavens too. It was gonna be a tough project to write because Local Heavens had that added aspect of being a retelling for a book that a lot of us have read. There was just a lot of different challenges with Local Heavens that made it a very intimidating project to write. And this new book has, I'm feeling that sense of like trepidation going into it, but a lot of the reasons why I feel like this new book is very intimidating, it's gonna be a type of protagonist that I've never written before. I don't want to straight up say that it's gonna be a cyberpunk thriller because I don't know if it will have like all of the thriller qualities, but there's gonna be cyberpunk heists. There is like a level of plotting, like the plotting for this book has to be so tight, and there are so many characters in this book. Only one main character, and it's gonna be in her perspective. World building wise, this book has just ballooned, and there are so many cool concepts that I want to explore. And so when I was writing Local Heavens, which is a cyberpunk book, and this book is also going to be cyberpunk, I'm happy and proud of what I was able to explore in Local Heavens. I think I was able to communicate a lot of ideas that had been nibbling away at me for the last little while. I had things in that book that I wanted to say about landlords and the housing crisis. I remember as I was writing that book, I was like, oh, this would be an interesting thing to explore, or this would be an interesting thing to explore. And I couldn't like shoehorn it into Local Heavens, and I didn't want to, and it wouldn't have fit the story. So anyways, yeah, there's just a lot of other cyberpunk ideas that I think are really rich, that I think deserve their own book, that I couldn't fit in Local Heavens, but I think will fit really well in this new book. And this main character is about to be crazy. Like, oh my god. I'm very excited to write her, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find her character voice right away. Don't quite know how I want to position her voice as a narrator. We'll see. So what I've done so far as of right now is I've made a brain dump document, which this document I started many months ago. I literally just try to like put down every idea that comes into my head as it's coming into my head. It's at a point now where it's irrelevant because it's so all over the place, and it's an amalgamation of ideas from months and months. I have organized my notes. It's pretty good to go. My outlining isn't that I go straight into a chapter by chapter outline. So what I've done first is a beat sheet. I have act 1, 2, and 3, and it's probably gonna like change depending on how I write, but I do a beat sheet of like major events that I want to happen throughout the book, and then with the beat sheet, hopefully what I can do today is write a synopsis. Okay, let's see. It's the end of the era. It's the end of the matcha era.
It's a 9 to 5. Ain't got no time for you and I to get it right. It's Friday night. Where's the red and white wine? Let's take it to another life. No time to leisure, more time to please you.
I feel like, you know, it's a new book, so you need a new keyboard. Do you know what I mean?
True, it's true. It's all
It was like Nick was so matcha green. This set is missing a few that I would like to have. Whoa, very interesting.
Just getting started. Girl, why you leaving? Where you going on this Saturday? I've been waiting up again. Where you going on this Saturday? I've been waiting up again.
There was this girl on TikTok that I saw a while ago, and she was like, every time I start a new book, I buy a new keyboard. I was like, oh my gosh, like, how can you buy a new keyboard every single fucking time? Now I kind of see the light. So I'm sorry to that girl. I was just a hater, and I really oughtn't have been.
They look like retainers.
What the fuck? What do you mean?
Like they look like Invisaligns.
No!
They look like Invisaligns.
No, don't say that.
For this shit. Oh, they're lower profile, eh? Than the.
Yeah.
They're also glossy and not matte.
Yeah, they're glossy. They're
Oh,
called
okay.
jelly keys.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to try something new. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, how do I take the spacebar out? Don't force it. Don't break her.
It's a little bit tricky.
I keep getting underneath the.
Oh,
Oh, you
I
got
was
it.
able to-
Okay. I've been wondering if at the Avatar Studios office, okay, the words pro bending sports anime have ever been uttered.
That studio is like talented enough that I'm sure like they recognize that
The potential.
the potential of it.
I usually play on the setting where it only lights up when you touch it.
Bro, relax.
That would be great. I've started writing the new book. I wasn't like giving updates because I was like in a flow state, but I've started writing. So I kind of want to just like share how I ended up outlining. I have two Google Docs right now that I'm using as reference. So I've talked before in like my outlining process videos that the first thing that I always do with a project is have a brain dump document. And the brain dump document is incredibly messy. It has just like unfiltered thoughts, getting all the ideas out of me and onto the page. I took that brain dump document and I started organizing it. As I was organizing it, I make what is sort of finalized notes, and this is split up into characters, world, themes, and then miscellaneous, which is just for any random thoughts that I have that can't be categorized anywhere. But this is the most intensive like note taking that I've done so far. There's a lot of like background characters. I have to keep track of them, and I have to know like, okay, this is who they are, this is who they're affiliated with. Like typically I only take notes on main characters and then main side characters, and then any like background like NPCs basically I don't really take notes on. But this book is different. The book is essentially going to be a series of heists. The way that the heists kind of domino effect into each other, have to know who is who, what is what. So under world building notes, this is split into basically what I would consider to be like key players, and the scope of this book is also bigger, I would say, than it was in Local Heavens. Local Heavens is a very intimate story. It's a retelling of The Great Gatsby. This book deals more explicitly with like world level things. And I have like 2 to 3 major technological concepts, and that's gonna require some exposition. I'm scared. I'm already scared about the word count of this book. And then the second document that I have is called Beat Sheet, Synopsis, and Outline. The synopsis is basically me fleshing out the beat sheet, and so I'm writing out things that are in the beat sheet, but I'm writing them out in a little bit more detail. I did that for Act 1 and half of Act 2. I did not do it yet for the rest of Act 2 and Act 3 because I have a feeling that like the details of things are going to shift around once I'm like through the first act / first half of the book, so I don't want to like waste time with like writing out a full synopsis yet until I have a clearer idea of how the scenes, because I think the high level events are going to be as they are in the beat sheet, but the scene to scene interactions and everything that happens like on a really granular level. That's the stuff that I'm going to be discovery writing. And then under outline, what I have done is, it is not a chapter by chapter outline. So it is literally me just taking the beats, bullet point listing them into what I think is like approximately how much I can put in each chapter, so that I can like get an estimation for like, okay, I think arriving at this place and meeting this person, that's going to be chapter 1. This person having a confrontation with this other person, I think that's gonna just take half of 1 chapter, so then I can maybe also include blah 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 exposition in this chapter. I feel organized, but I'm also not like 100% have everything figured out. I think some of the discovery is very important. I've written the prologue of the book. The main character of this book, she is unlike anything I've ever written before. I knew when I finished Local Heavens, I was like, I need to write a character who is polar opposite of Nick. Like, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with that guy. The new character, and I'm not gonna be sharing names yet because the names are literally fluctuating. She's gonna be a challenge because to the reader, I want her to be compelling, but also she's going to have a lot of very unlikable qualities about her, and she's not going to treat people very well. I think the romance in this book is going to be not enemies to lovers, then definitely like forced proximity. We do not like each other. We have to partner up on this one thing that we don't want to be working with each other, but we have to be. And that's going to be fun. They're going to be 2 very, very different characters. I feel like I'm going into this romance a lot more confident, just because if you were like following the Local Heavens journey, you know that the romance in Local Heavens was something that was the focus of every single round of revision, knock on wood. But I feel like I'm going into this process just like more and more comfortable with how to pace romantic beats. I'm really happy with the way that the romance turned out in my last book. Typically with my books, like the romance isn't something that I am like most excited to write. As I was outlining, I was like naturally feeling like, oh, this is where the romance beat's gonna happen. This is where this romance beat's gonna happen. And I typically don't do that. I just, as I'm writing, I just decide like, oh yeah, this is when this needs to happen. If I end up actually liking writing romance for once in my life, that could be crazy. Because I think the more and more that I've outlined this book, the more that I really like I guess the love interest character. I really like her. I already know what her personality is gonna be. I think the more that I like get into it and the more that I explore her, I feel like the romance will end up being like a little bit more integral than I even realized. And also, this is the first time that I'm like writing a sapphic romance in a book. I've written a lot of like sapphic romances in like short stories and stuff like that, but never in a book. My fantasy books, which were the first 2 books that I wrote, those were both like MF pairings. Local Heavens is Queer Gatsby retelling, although Nick also has relations with other people in the book. The main character is going to have romances with many characters because part of her character is that, you know, she's like shoulder rubbing with important people to get what she wants. The main romance is going to be like a sapphic romance, which, fun fact, actually, the first story that I ever published, it was for a school contest, and it was included, it was like printed in an anthology that was for my university. That was the first short story, like first writing of mine that I ever like published. It was a sapphic story as well. So in a lot of ways, I'm returning to my roots. So it is almost 2:30. I got a decent writing session in. It was much better than yesterday. Yesterday, my word count was 0. Today, I got a solid 500 words in. I decided to write outside of the house today. Thank God I did. I know it costs money to like work at coffee shops, and you definitely can't do it every day, but once every few weeks, I feel like it is the thing that gets me going after a writing slump, because I feel like I have been having like issues focusing and like getting into this project, which I'm trying not to feel too panicked about, because I feel like starting a new book, whatever it is going to be tough, because you're still getting to know the voice of your characters and how they act, and you're still trying to figure out the world. So it's just not as easy to get started, but Yeah, so basically I made progress on the first chapter, and yeah, it really helped to just get out of the house. And the other thing is, like, I'm basically writing in Google Docs when I'm not here. I usually write in Scrivener, but I find that if I have, as I'm drafting, if I have access to everything, like the entire manuscript, everything that I've previously written, I tend to start editing whatever I wrote previously. And that's fine for some days because I do like editing as I draft. But sometimes when you just need to like get words down and get ideas down, it really helps to just like not have access to what you've previously written. So you're forced to just write whatever you have to write for the day. In terms of what I wrote, it's not terrible. There's a lot of like square brackets, but it's not bad. It's basically, I have the flow of ideas down and I have some of the dialogue down. So that's that. It was better than yesterday. Last quick writing update for this vlog. Over the past week, I was able to finish the prologue of this book. Tonight am going to finish chapter 1, and I've already gotten a head start on chapter 2 and 3. I know what I have to do for the next 3 chapters, and I think I'm just gonna try to not rush these first 3 chapters because I feel like the first 3 chapters, more often than not, like that's what is gonna be like the deciding factor for a lot of readers. I think there's a lot of exposition that I need to work out, and I want to be able to craft compelling scenes because I'm quite nervous about info dumping in the beginning, so I have to figure it out. I feel like I had some ups and downs over this past week, like motivation wise. I had a few days where I wasn't writing anything because I was just having a really tough time focusing on the project. Like I was feeling really anxious about how this book will turn out and if I'll be able to execute it. I am slightly nervous because this first chapter is ending a little bit earlier than where I wanted it to end, and I don't want my opening chapter to be too long. I tend to like writing long chapters, but sort of the pace of this book, I want it to be a little more fast-paced. Yeah, we're laying the foundations. We're gonna meet the second main character in, I believe, chapter 4, potentially chapter 5, but if I can try to push up her first scene into chapter 4, I might. Actually, no, I think chapter 5 will work fine. I think there's a few other things I'd rather do. Yeah, lots to do, but very excited, and hopefully I can share more about this book as I keep writing it. It does feel good to be starting a new book. I mean, I might like go back and forth between this book and The Floating House, which is my adult fantasy, which I have not abandoned. I think I'm gonna treat The Floating House as my fun project, you know? I think it's something that I don't want to take too seriously. Not that I won't write it without any care, but like I'm starting to see how important it is to have fun projects as a writer, and I think I'm just gonna treat that one as like something that I know I can always return to if this book is ever giving me a super tough time. That's it. Thank you for joining me on this vlog. I just kind of wanted to make this vlog like a quick writing update kind of vlog, so you know what I'm currently working on. It has been very difficult for me to find time to make and edit videos, so obviously doing my best. Yeah, it's been a slow start to the year, I guess, creatively with YouTube, but I am trying my best. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for supporting this channel and being interested in what I'm writing. Let me know what you guys are currently working on right now, and yeah, hope all your writing projects are going well. I'll talk to you guys in the next video.
No time to please you, more time to please you. Just getting started.